If you're human, and I think most of my audience are, then perhaps sometime in your life you've made a mistake. And what's the proper thing to do when trying to reconcile after making a mistake? The answer is double down, triple down, and quadruple down if necessary. But in Japan, this is what we consider rude. Instead, what you're supposed to do is apologize. So today, let's go over the 10 different ways to say, I'm sorry in Japanese. Trevor in Tokyo. In Japanese, generally speaking, the shorter the sentence is, the less polite. To some extent, you might see that in English, where going from I'm sorry to I humbly apologize for causing any offense on my behalf and do indeed consider myself to have made a fault. Going forward, I hope to reconcile my mistake, that we may continue our mutual interactions to our continued satisfaction into the ongoing indefinite future. It's just the little things. Unfortunately, that means if it's your second language, the proper way to speak, the polite way to speak, is often the hardest to remember. But I'm sorry, that's just how it is. Number 1, more or less, whoopsies, or gomen. In Japanese, brief, short, curt is only really given between friends, male friends, of equal status, and is rude in basically every other situation because you're not giving enough consideration to the apology. That's why I say it's like whoopsies. You don't really say that to someone you're friendly with, or really looking down and not considering an offense to be had. The second one is slightly longer, as you'll see. We'll go from short to long. And this one's given between close friends and intimate partners, as well as children, or talking down to someone who's your inferior. Gomen ne. Or the ne here is a rhetorical object marker, something like an in English. It's like, a good day, eh? Gomen ne. I'm sorry, right? I'm sorry. Or you could put some more emphasis on the ne. Gomen ne. Different ways of pronouncing the language give a slightly different intonation, a different connotation to the speech. But this can be our basic I'm sorry. Sorry. So the same situation where you would use that in English might apply here. For our third one, we get to the actual first one that you could use in polite society, and that is gomenasai. Hope you can speak it well and speak it fast, because you're going to make a lot of mistakes in Japanese. Gomenasai. Or in English, I am sorry. And this is really only used when you're at fault or when something has gone terribly awry and it's still your fault. The customer ordered something and the chef hasn't brought it out yet. Gomenasai. 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 The next one can be used for both a slight mistake as well as a general excuse me, and that is the famous sumimasen. Sumimasen. Shitsumon ga arimasu. Excuse me, I have a question. This is something you might ask if you're going into a store or talking to someone in the train, or you happen to bump into somebody on the street. Sumimasen. So any situation where you need to say excuse me in English is fairly effective for using sumimasen. The derived form makes up our next one, which is sumimasen deshita, or sumimasen deshita. Sumimasen being the same, I'm sorry, and then deshita being I did, I had. So this is a I made a mistake, basically. Used for apologizing for a light mistake. Here, such intolerable infractions might be late for work or late for an appointment. Sumimasen deshita. And then we get to some more fun ones that we probably haven't heard. What if I'm sorry just doesn't cut it, and you need to say I'm very sorry? Well, then you can't just stop at sumimasen or sumimasen deshita. We need something else. Moshiwake arimasen. I'm very sorry. Mo here being a different type of kanji for humbly or humbly apologizing. So now we've gone beyond sumimasen and onto mo. Moshiwake arimasen. But we can still make it more complicated. How about for our next one? Moshiwake gozaimasen. I'm terribly sorry. So the prior ones may be used for minor infractions. This one's when you really screwed something up and you need to apologize.
まったことは大変遺憾であり申し訳ございませんでした。
Now we also have other types of contact. Maybe you're not going to say something aloud, but you need to write something out. Well, in that case, you don't have to worry about a finicky tongue getting in the way of proper pronunciation. Hatsuon. Now you can use nice and long forms. Fukaku owabi moshi agemasu. Or literally, my deepest apologies I humbly give. This could be written in a business email when you've made a serious mistake and you need to apologize to a customer.
関係者の皆様、視聴者の皆様に深くお詫び申し上げます。この度は大変申し訳ございませんでした。
But apologizing isn't only for us normal folk. It's also going to be for people in positions of power and influence who are caught up in great scandals. Why, there's another type of apology which can be used in such a case. Shazai itashimasu. I apologize. Imagine this in a nice, formal situation, a televised news. And finally, number 1, our most polite way of saying I'm sorry is quite a mouthful that I definitely didn't have written top of my head. Susushinde owabi mo agemasu. I give you my deepest, most humble apology. Unless you're really in a position of power, like the president of a company, the director of some program or section, or something along the lines where a major mistake has occurred and it's your job to take responsibility as the leader of that organization, you're not going to need to know that one. But you can appreciate how long it is. Going from the nice and curt gomen all the way up to Tsushinde awabi mo agemasu. As I say, it's similar in English, where the longer it is, often the more polite it is. But if you're going to Japan and you just need the go-to, I would recommend the 2. Gomenasai, I'm sorry, I caused a problem, and sumimasen, excuse me. These other ones are here for flavor, and you might see them in various forms of media. But of course, my viewers would never make a mistake, except for clicking off this video. Well, that's been all for this week. I've hoped you've learned something new. And remember, if you made a mistake, in order of priority, double down, gaslight, cut someone out of your life, and if necessary, apologize. I'm Trevor in Tokyo. See ya next time.